Cast Conversations. Today, we have the pleasure to be joined by Madison. Madison, would you like to tell us a little about yourself and where you've
Hi.
worked and stuff like that? Just general?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I started working for the company, working for Disney like about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. I moved down from, southern Wisconsin, like kind of Chicago area, and I was like, I really gotta get out of the cold. I actually had a lot of different chances to come down here and like do like interviews, and they're like, yeah, like we want you to come down, we have this offer for you. And I was like, just like too afraid to do it. And I was like, you know what, let's just finally get out of this and finally do what I really want to do. And I started off working pack on Main Street, so I was doing like parade audience control. Like I basically had to scream at people all day,
The
like get
best,
off the
yeah.
sidewalk.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's great. So like, and guests, they're like, oh, you ruined my vacation. I'm like, cool, because I, told you to step over a tape line. That's great.
I think PAC
Um,
stands for vacation ruiner, doesn't it?
oh, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I had to put on my resume. So I kind of didn't, I mean, I wanted to get out of it. Like I loved doing it because it was cool because I got to watch the fireworks every night. I saw the parade every day. But then I wanted to go full time. So I ended up working at Figment, and then I worked over at Soren for a little while. And what else? Yeah, and then I kind of separated from the company for a little bit, just kind of needed a break, and then came back. They put me in small, yeah, so Peter Pan and Small World I was working at for a little bit, which was very interesting. Um and then finally I put in for Adventureland Liberty Square attractions, and I've been wanting to work Jungle Cruise my entire life basically. So I was like, you know what? Like I went, I begged them. I was like, you know what? I did improv, like I have good comedic timing, like let me just do this. And they're like, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. And then here I am. I'm a skipper.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's
Yeah,
that's a
that's
dream role for a lot of people too.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it really, and I didn't realize like how coveted it was until people were like, wait, whoa, how? Like, how
yeah,
are you? I'm
for
like,
real.
I begged them. I don't know.
So yeah, it's a big deal that we've got you here today because a lot of people want to hear from the skippers and a lot of people want to be a skipper. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
will be a
I
cool
was
podcast for a lot of people.
I was telling
Yeah.
Jeremy I was pretty excited about being able to talk to you because I've always wanted to ask a skipper questions, and here we are. Got the
Oh,
opportunity
yeah,
to today.
Yeah, I'm
for
I'm a tour
sure.
guide at my school, so being a skipper was a big job that I wanted myself. So
Yeah. Yeah, and
um
it's crazy that like I mean it's funny because almost everybody that works there either is like the CPs, like they're either like theater majors or like people who used to do theater, and I'm like, whoa, like how did we all end up here? I mean, I get it, but like, so
right.
it's
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah, so we'll get into you working for the Jungle Cruise in a little bit, and
Mhm.
we'll actually start it off with kind of some general cast member questions about all your previous jobs and things like that, and then
Yeah.
we'll save the good skipper stuff for a little later.
Cool, cool.
Um, so what ultimately led you to become a cast member originally?
So I kind of started, I mean, my family, they've owned restaurants like me growing up, and like so I feel like, and then I was always doing like retail, and I'm like, okay, well I have like that, people person, like that customer service, thing like down pat. And it's like I love Disney, like why not just, go there and, bring it to the next level? Because ultimately, like that's, I mean, when you think of Disney, you think magic and like customer service, and it's
Right.
like, of course, it's like top of the line, out of, pretty much everything in the world.
Exactly.
So, yeah, which is crazy, but I was like, you know what? Like, why not do this? And I started um getting into like the history behind the parks. Like I've always been a Disney fan. I mean, we all have,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I didn't really go to the parks a lot as a kid. I went once when I was 9, and honestly, like, that trip was a bust. I barely even remember it. Um and then yeah, it was like me and then like my two cousins who are like one's older, one's younger, and I'm the girl, and I'm also like the middle child. So we're just like I broke my tailbone on that trip. Like it was just like not a good time. So I'm just like, well, why would I want to go back there? Um but like as I got older, like in high school, for some reason I started getting into like the history, like behind like Disneyland and like how things were made. And I was like, you know what? Like that would be the coolest job ever. Like to do
For
that. And then you
real.
can like hang out. Yeah, you can hang out in the parks all the time. Like, I mean, that's honestly like the coolest reason. Like, like being down here, like I can literally just wake up and be like, I'm off. I feel like going on test track. Let's go on test track. Like
Yeah.
cool, coolest thing ever.
I mean, yeah, Disney does have a lot of rich history, and it's very unique to hear
Oh,
the story about its history.
hmm
So you were mentioning a lot of places that you've worked so far. Of all of those places, do you have a favorite
besides Jungle Cruise.
besides Jungle Cruise?
um,
Let's pretend that one doesn't count. Yeah.
okay, all right, doesn't count. Never worked there. Honestly, it's a toss up between either Figment or Soarin'. Because Figment was really cool because of, I mean, the history behind that. Like, obviously, it's a shell of what it used to be,
Right.
um, which
hmm
is unfortunate. But hopefully, I know D23 is coming up, so hopefully we'll, hear some good news about that. But um, I mean, it was just cool, being around something that, people still came because of what it used to be. And like I had people coming in all the time that were dressed up like Dreamfinder, or like, they were dressed up in like all like rainbow, like 80s Mickey,
Oh wow.
like,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
yeah, or like so many Captain EO fans that were like, oh my gosh, like this used to be right here. I'm like, yeah, because I mean, the theater, because which I have a Captain EO tattoo. Like I freaking love it. But I mean, because if you work Figment, you also work the Pixar Short Film Fest right next door, which is,
Oh,
Okay.
okay. hmm
yeah, so it's Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and then, Captain EO, and then Magic Wonders, I think it was called, or so, yeah, something like that. And then you also actually clean the 3D glasses downstairs.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
so
Yes.
what's the process of cleaning those? Because I've always
I've always
wondered
wondered
that.
that. Yeah.
So it's actually from what I've heard from maintenance, it is a computer chip cleaner. So they put them in, like, I don't know, like if you go into like PhilharMagic and you grab the glasses out of those trays, or like Muppet
hmm
Vision.
Yeah.
They're all stacked up in there. And then once you grab them, they, essentially they'll have them like put you in the bin, or they'll have you put them in the bin afterwards, when you're done with them. And then they collect those, they stack them back up upside down, and then they'll send all the carts except for, so we did all of them except for Pandora attractions.
Hmm.
So Flight of Passage, we don't do those because those are glass, and I guess they have to have like a whole new, like, system for that. But they just put them in the machine and it goes through, and you just pull them out. It's really hot and sweaty down there. But I mean, sometimes it was just a nice, like, okay, I don't have to deal with guests right now. Like,
Right.
you
Just
know,
a
Yeah.
little me time.
yeah, exactly. And it was nice because I didn't have to wear my sleeve because I have tattoos. So like I didn't have to wear
Yeah.
my sleeves for a little bit.
Oh,
So, yeah,
that's nice.
yeah, yeah. So that was nice.
So,
So go
um,
ahead, Phil.
yeah, you said you enjoyed going to the parks, obviously, on your days
hmm
off and stuff like that. What
Yep.
park would you say you enjoy going to just hang out at the most?
Probably Magic Kingdom, just because there is so much to do. If I want just like a chill day, like don't really want to do much, I'll probably go to Studios, but soon I don't think that's going to be an
Yeah,
option.
very
Oh,
quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also have an annual pass too, whichever the one with no blockout dates is. So at first I'm like, oh, I'm totally going to go to Galaxy's Edge on, opening day. But now I'm like, do I really want to? There's going to be a huge sinkhole there. So
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
yeah.
So, along with that, kind of, what would be your favorite restaurant to eat at on Disney property?
Ooh, that's rough. My goal this year was to try to do more sit down, but I haven't really gotten around to that. I'd probably say Tony's in Town Square.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have the same idea with that. Yeah,
Oh,
that is
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
uh,
well, because I mean, a lot of people, it used to be not that great, I guess, and I would just hear, all the garbage stories from it. But then I probably went last year. I think I maybe went like 5 times or something. And then anytime somebody was in town, they'd be like, like, oh, where should we eat? I'm like, let's just go to Tony's. Like I've taken like I literally just had like a night like by myself. Like I did like a nice dinner alone. Like I sat in a corner there, just like drank some wine. They're like, are
Hey,
you
you
by
got to treat
yourself? Like, are
yourself
you
yeah.
sometimes.
exactly? It was, yeah, I mean that was a great day. I really needed it. But it's quiet. It's right on Main Street. You literally just walk in the park, you're there. The what do I usually get? The gnocchi. Oh my gosh.
Shout out to
Hmm.
the Noki.
Seriously, it's so good.
So kind of changing directions. What's a role
Mhm.
you'd be interested in getting in the future if you were to ever leave your skipper role?
Probably VIP tour guide.
That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's
That'd be pretty
really,
amazing.
oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do in the first place. So when I first was like, okay, I want to work for Disney, I immediately was like, I want to be a tour guide at Disneyland because of all the rich history that's there. I mean, obviously, Disney World has it too, but at Disneyland, Walt was there. Like, there's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
so much
sure.
more. And now, like, doing being a skipper, we have the Keys to the Kingdom tours that come in all the time. So we essentially will drive the boat while they're talking, and they're kind of like doing all their, like facts and, all the,
Hmm.
behind the scenes stuff that they
Sure.
do. Yeah. So hearing that, I mean, that's awesome. But the fact that, like I've fallen asleep to, these history videos like Defunctland and like Rob Plays, like,
Yeah.
all these guys are great. So, I'm just like kind
So
of
you know
soaking
your
up all
stuff.
this knowledge. I mean, I guess sometimes like I don't want to say like I don't want to be that person like I know everything, but at the same time I'm like I know a pretty good amount, and then
Hey,
there's
you know your
Yeah.
like
stuff. You know
always
your stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
you can easily say
It's
you know more than just your average cast member, probably.
right. I mean, and again, like I don't want to come off cocky or anything, but then sometimes like I'll find like one person who like they'll be like, "Oh, did you know this?" I was like, "Wait, really?" Like I had
Oh yeah.
like what? So it's like
And then you
mind
can add it to your
blower.
arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, how'd you
Um,
know that? Oh, I just knew.
so with the VIP tour guide, is that something? Is it like an end goal, or are you interested in maybe becoming a trainer or a leader for your current position, or is VIP what you want to work towards?
Maybe eventually. Right now, I know because I've only been at Jungle for like 2 months now. And I know it takes about 6 months to become a trainer. So I'm just kind of going through all of our operating guide stuff as much as I can. Just asking questions as much as possible, making sure I have everything down pat. So when it comes time, when they're like, "Hey, we need trainers again," I can be like, "Hi, guess what? I want to do this. I know this and this and this. Like, I can prove to you that I can, help, keep this up, teach new cast members, yada, yada, yada."
Right,
So,
right, right.
So, uh, kind of a little different question here.
We
Without
like to
going,
mix it up here.
yep, just
oh,
keep it
yeah,
rolling.
no, I
Yeah.
love it. Keep me surprised.
Without giving too much detail, have you been on any backstage tours of any rides or shows or anything like that?
I have actually done a lot more than I ever thought I would be able to.
Really?
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have friends that, work in, such
Hmm.
areas and
Sure.
or like it's just other areas that I work near, so they're like, "Hey, like, like leadership will be like, do you want to, like check this out?" It's like, of course. Like, are you kidding me? So um I mean, again, I don't know how much I can say. I definitely, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I've been able to see some pretty cool stuff.
Okay. What highlighting just a couple, what would you say your favorite ones have
Um,
been?
Probably or not, I was gonna say DreamWorks. Yikes, totally different company. Um, ImageWorks, like the old ImageWorks upstairs in the
Oh,
Imagineering Pavilion.
I
Oh,
didn't even know they gave tours of that.
They don't, but when you're in training, for a little bit they did. They were like, "Hey, like if you want to see, some of what used to be, they would take some of the training groups up there." They don't do it anymore just because I know, I guess they were doing a lot of stuff. Um, but it was really cool to like stand like where the rainbow tunnel used to be, where that like famous like Michael Jackson picture was. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like this used to be there." Like, and I honestly I started crying. Like, I mean, of course, I
Yeah,
was like,
it's an emotional thing.
it really is. And they had a lot of stuff that was red tagged, so it was um do not destroy like Walt Disney archives, or whatever, like they're going to put it in the archives or something. So like they had like that sensory sign that used to be over the rainbow tunnel that was red tagged. They had some of like I guess there was what is it, it was like these like little squares that you can stand on, and then they would make like music, and there was like some stuff on the walls
hmm.
that it like correlated with that, like
Oh,
you can,
interesting.
that, yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I went to, the first time I was at Epcot was 2001, so I didn't get to see
Oh
any of
wow.
that, so I don't really remember, but it was definitely a lot of cool stuff that I was like, whoa, like this used to be like, this is ultimate 80s Epcot.
Yeah, for real.
That is
Yeah.
probably pretty exciting.
Yeah. That, and of course, I mean, Haunted Mansion, like, that's one that they do a lot. But yeah, I got to do that, got to see that. And it's crazy like when you do those tours, like, because I think they do like a backstage magic thing for cast members for Haunted Mansion, like maybe like once every other month or something. But I got to see it, and it's crazy how low tech everything is in there.
Really? That's surprising. You would expect it would be like super technical, so many things going on. But
No, like I mean, it's I don't again like I don't know what I can say. Like I mean, the fact that the trees are made out of paper mache, like what the heck? Like that's
right.
they can just go if they need to fix something, they can just go to Michael's and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spend
slap some paint
$2.
on it. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Right.
and then that whole story about like in Disneyland with the BB gun shot in the window or something. You know about that?
No.
Oh no, tell us.
Yeah. So like at Disneyland, I think it's at Disneyland. Like back in the 60s, some kid somehow brought a BB gun. I think it was a BB gun, but he shot the glass like through the in the ballroom scene. So then there was a big crack on it. So they were like, okay, well we can either take the roof off and spend like $2 million, or we can figure out something else. And I guess one of the Imagineers, I don't remember who it was, but they literally just brought in a plastic spider, just put it on there. It's like, we're gonna make this a spider web, and that's it. That
Oh,
was
that's
it.
funny.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to innovate and just go at it.
I know. I can just imagine them being like, "Well, here you go," and they go, "All right, that works. We just saved $2 million."
Yeah.
So we'll move on to one more question and then we'll send it to break. But before we go to break, what is one of the most memorable moments where you made magic for someone? And feel free to give as many as you have, or if you have a few.
Yeah. Oh, so one of my last days on Main Street, there was this little girl. She was from Britain. Her name was Freda. She was so cute. And so we were kind of like close to the end of Main Street, like in the hub area. And, it was me and then one of my best friends, Bailey. And we were just like trying to entertain her. We're waiting for the parade. And so, we were like, "Do you want a sticker?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you have stickers?" And so then we ended up making a sticker sash for her, and we had
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I
that's the
mean,
best.
That's
yeah. So
awesome.
she we did a sash, and we were like, "All right, guys, like because everybody's already lined up waiting for the parade, and we're like, 'Ladies and gentlemen, Princess Freda!' So like everybody on Main Street was like clapping, and she's like doing
Oh,
her
that's
little princess
amazing.
wave. And then she came back, and then she was like, "Can we do the thing again?" I'm like, "What
Oh
thing?" And
wow.
she's like, and so like we did it again. We made her a crown this time, and then this time there was even more people waiting, and her parents were like crying, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, like we've been on holiday for like 2 weeks, and this is like the best day so far." And then she's like, "After the parade, can we do it again?" I'm like, "We
Oh
gotta
my
go."
gosh.
I'm sorry. So she was just like milking it, but like she was
The
so
three
stoked.
o'clock parade just for her.
I know exactly. Honestly, I'm like I'm okay. I will definitely yell at people to get off the street for this. Like,
Phil and I would help out too.
oh
Yeah,
my
that'd be
gosh,
pretty cool.
it was so
That's
cool.
amazing. So would you say that's probably one of your top three best moments?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Getting to be with the kids and make the moments for them and as well as their parents, it really makes you feel good.
Well,
Yeah,
it
I
makes
mean,
the parents happy when they see the kids happy as well. So it
exactly. I
helps
mean, this,
everybody.
yeah, for the most part, I mean, this trip is usually for them. Like, 8 times out of 10, the parents have already been there. It's the kid's first time. Like, of course, you want to make it as magical as possible. And like I said, like,
Hmm.
I'm a very customer service oriented, person. So I'm like, I'm trying to make this the best as I possibly can, make their money worth it, just make sure that they have like these memories. Like, that's something that they're probably going to remember for the rest of their lives.
For
And
sure.
it's cool that like I got to be part of that,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be in these people's like scrapbooks. Like that's forever.
Like
Like that's
you're essentially making history for the family. That's how I think about it.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, and then I was like, I started getting like really into myself. I'm like, oh my God, that was so cool. So now they're gonna come back. She's gonna come back with her kids, and they're gonna want to do the same thing.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I know. So and they're gonna be like, nope, sorry, no,
Yeah, no,
But
sorry, you can't do that.
and it's like we don't do. What are stickers like?
Right. Yeah, in the
They're gonna be
future,
like,
it's gonna
oh,
be
we
like
have
the
these
sticker's gonna be
bad.
worth nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I was joking on another podcast that the stickers I'd carry so many on me and they made the kids so happy. Just something
Mhm.
so simple as that.
Yeah, it was crazy that
Yeah,
was something that just made
I
them
mean,
so happy.
they could be crying for, God knows what reason, and then you give them a sticker and they're like, "Up, everything's fine. All
Yeah.
all is good."
Yep, all is good with the world.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
kind
but
of
we're
bummed that we don't have Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say we're at 20 minutes, so I'm just gonna throw it to a quick break, and then we'll do our sponsor super fast, and then we'll come back and have some more questions for you and talk about your life as a skipper.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Jeremy and I would like to thank Anchor this far for being our podcast host. They have made everything very easy for us. It's even very easy just to do from your phone. They will put out your podcast to all different streaming platforms, so they make it very easy on you that way. And if you guys want to start your own podcast, you can go to anchor.fm or download the Anchor app, and you can actually start getting paid with no minimum listenership, and it's also absolutely free. So make sure to go ahead and start doing that. If you have any interest in any topics that you guys want to talk about that people may be interested in, or that you just enjoy talking about. Jeremy and I know we enjoy talking about all this Disney stuff because we did the Disney College program, and it's just very enjoyable to us. So thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of the show.
On behalf of Phil and I, thank you to our first sponsor, Anchor. Anchor is by far the easiest way to make and distribute a podcast. Everything you could possibly need is right on your phone or on your computer. They have a lot of creation tools on a simple interface to make your podcast sound and run amazing. Anchor has made it really easy for us to reach listeners on all different podcast streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Anchor will help you easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to make your podcast today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to keep it rolling here. Jeremy, you got another question to ask?
Yes. So, Madison, we're going to talk more about your life as a skipper. So, what is your favorite wonder of the world?
The backside of water. What do you think?
Absolutely.
That's the best one.
That is the only good answer. I mean,
are there even other wonders of the world?
I don't even know. There's not. Maybe I don't know, the one green arched McDonald's in Sedona, Arizona. That's it.
So, what overall would be your favorite part of being a skipper?
Probably. Well, I mean, I wanted to do comedy growing up, like since I was like 7. So, I mean, this is the closest you can get to doing that while working at Disney. I mean, unless you were doing, like Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor or something.
Oh, that one looks so exciting.
It really does, yeah. I mean, that would be a really cool one too. I know that's an actual like audition, but a lot of people think that you have to audition to be a skipper. You actually don't.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's something we were actually going to ask. And
we
coming up
that
soon.
question now.
But
hey, you're a mind reader. That works.
I guess so. I'm telepathetic.
So on the Jungle Cruise, what's your favorite point of the ride?
I don't know. You know what? I like when you come up so after the Pygmy Beach, when there's like nobody there and you're like, oh, I don't see anybody canoe. And then you're like, I wonder what scared them off. And you turn around and there's the boa that's right there. I like go nuts with it. Like I will jump, I will like kick the steering wheel and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I freak out. And then I'm like, oh, you got it. And then I like yell out the boat. I'm like, you got to stop scaring me every 10 minutes. It's not funny anymore. Like, usually
like breaking
people
the wall.
Yeah, exactly. I do that a lot. And I think it's nice because it's like, of course, like people know Jungle Cruise to be, it's like supposed to be funny and like sarcastic. And that's one of those things that you can get away with doing it,
Right. Okay. So with the jokes, like you were saying, are you free to come up with your own jokes, or are they all written for you?
They are written for you. However, so we call them OG jokes, operating guide. So just like any other attraction, you have an operating guide.
Right.
It's in there. So they give you, I mean, it's basically all the classic jokes, like the, I don't see anybody canoe, and then the denial joke, and then the backside of water. But at the same time, like they kind of let you be free to do your own little like skipper, you you kind of get your skipper voice. So you kind of start doing like your own thing and your own shtick. And, as long as it's like, flavored OG, so like not inappropriate and not ruining the magic too much, like you'll be fine. But I guess they're like, well, if you have a manager on your boat, like you might not want to do that. But at the same time, like, as long as you're not ruining the magic or doing anything inappropriate, then it's pretty much fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've actually heard couple when you go behind the backside of water. I've also heard the one where the skipper will say, "All right, I'm about to let you on a huge Disney secret," and then they kind of act like they're talking, and then you go through. They say, "And that's how you get a free fast or unlimited free fast passes." Have you ever
Oh
done
my
that one or
gosh.
no?
No, but now I'm gonna use that tomorrow.
Yeah. And then you have to shout out Cast Conversations.
Yeah, get conversations, and then they're like, "Wait, what?" And then I'm like, "Moving on." Like,
Yeah.
and they're like,
That's
"We heard
hilarious.
that you're promoting
Yeah.
outside."
Yeah, we need to talk to you backstage really quick.
Yeah. No, I've never heard that one.
That's
Usually the
funny.
one that really is funny. I love that. There's a lot of like, because sometimes like those like non-flavored like we do in the hippo pool, we'll kind of do like the, oh, I know how to scare them off, and you kind of yell like, I love you, like meet my parents, like that's one of those ones that like everyone does, but it's not in the OG. So like that might even be one of those things that they do, in Disneyland, that like everybody does, that like we just don't know about, because I don't think I've ever heard anybody do that here. And I've been on quite a few of our skippers boats. But I usually pull the O2H, O2H.
Oh, a
And I'm
classic.
like, yeah, and then I go, oh my gosh, okay. And and then like I'll be like, don't try that at home, kids. You'll hit your head on the faucet. That's why I am like I am.
Yeah. Then the parents laugh
And
at that one.
yeah, exactly. And like even like some kids will be like, it's H2O. And I turn around and I just stare at them for a second. I'm like, you don't know anything, do you?
That's funny. I mean, it sounds like you're really good at what you do, and I feel that a good skipper makes or breaks that ride, because
Mhm.
if you don't have one that's interacting with the guests and um, going with the flow of the jokes that you guys have, it's not as good of a ride. And so
Right.
the skipper is a very important job, actually.
Oh, for sure. Like I didn't realize how much it was going to be. Like I knew like, okay, well, I'm going to have to, tell these jokes, like, but I mean, it takes a lot out of you. Like last week, I mean, I tried to rest myself as much as possible, just because it's like, you lose your voice. You always have to make sure you're either drinking tea or you're doing your, like cough drops or whatever. Like I mean, it's a very demanding job. Like it's
Hmm.
not
For
like
sure.
entertainment. Yeah, it's not like entertainment where you're like on stage for 45 minutes and then you have a break for 45 minutes. Like it's the same as any other job. We'll do boat land positions, and then we'll go on, 2 hours later, we go on a 15-minute break. You do the same thing. And sometimes you can even be in a boat for, I don't know, like an hour. But sometimes they'll like, I mean, they try to break it up. I mean, they're really good to us. I mean, as they are in, most areas, but they, yeah, they definitely try to, let us like rest for a little bit and just be like, hey, like, do you want to keep going? Like, I mean, you can marathon boats too. So essentially you would just stay in a boat until your next break. And I've done that, quite a few times, especially if I know that I have people coming in. So then it's easier for them to be like, hey, I want to get on Skipper Madison's boat. And it's like, okay, well, she's coming around the corner. So
Okay.
Interesting.
Um, so
yeah.
when you're out on those boats, what are some of the best interactions you've gotten from guests? Like, do the kids think that the animals
Or
are
like
actually real?
reactions,
What did
Oh,
I say?
sure.
interactions.
Sure.
Oh, my bad.
I've had so usually when I'm on the African veldt, so it's like right after the elephants,
Hmm.
like the whole like denial, and then like, oh, there's an African bull elephant. So after those ones, I'm like, all right, so I kind of do a whole like I'm not sure what I'm actually doing. So I'll be like, if you look up there, we have some uh long neck cheetahs. And so normally, and that's what we always do, and then I'll be like, oh, 67 Impala, and I'll be like pointing to like the deer in the back or whatever.
Oh my
um
God.
but
That's pretty funny.
but there's and then I started doing this thing as of last week, and I'm like, oh, spoiler alert, that thing that kills Mufasa is over there. um
Oh, that's
and then
good.
everyone just goes, ooh, and I'm just like, just kidding, I've never seen the movie because I've never seen Lion King, and
For real?
yes, people freak
Oh
out when I
man.
say
All right.
that.
So thank you guys for listening. This has been Cast Conversations.
Bye. Yeah, no.
See you later.
My roommate was like, don't tell them that you've never seen Lion King. I'm like, I think it's so funny, but people on my boats will freak out, and I'll be like, moving on. But usually in the Velt, like kids will be like, that's a giraffe. I'm like, oh no, it's not. And so we kind of just fight back and forth about it. And it just, the longer we do it and the longer it's a back and forth, it's just like, no, that's a giraffe. No, that's a deer. And I'm like, okay. And that zebra is sleeping. They're like, no, he's dead. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because the longer you play it out, the funnier it gets, honestly. Because then the
Exactly.
kids
Yeah,
will start being kids.
exactly. And
So,
that's another reason why I'm trying to do more like running gags, because the longer you do it, the funnier it gets. Even though it might not be the best, it's like if you keep doing it, it's gonna be funny at the end.
right. So do the kids ever like call out like they're like, oh, that's not a real animal? And if so, like how do you play that off?
I will just say, yep, you're right.
Oh, so you just break the wall right there.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I mean we do I don't know if this one's in the OG, but the majority of us will do with the boa, be like, all right, guys, like this thing starts with a P, what's it called? And everyone, they yell out python and you go, no, plastic. So, so I mean, with that, like that's kind of breaking it right there. But usually you look at the kids' faces and they go, no, what? That's a python. Like, what's
Yeah.
plastic? Like, they're kind of thinking, like, is that a type of snake? I don't even
Right.
know.
That's funny.
Yeah, or like we'll be in the temple and like they'll be like, oh my gosh, snakes, and I'll be like, all of these animals are plastic except for the snakes. So, I'll just kind
Ooh.
of like throw them off and I'll be very, yeah, and then they'll be like, wait, what? And I hate to say it, I have had a kid cry on my boat
Oh no.
because, well, with the boa, like when I freaked out, she just started screaming and crying, and I was the whole rest of the time I'm like, it's not real, I promise, it's not real, it's not real. And like I felt so bad. And like by the time we got into the temple and I go, I promise these aren't real, and she goes, if they are, it's okay, I'm fine now. I'm like, oh
You're like,
geez,
oh,
okay.
Got
So
over it quick.
right.
yeah. And then the mom afterwards was just like, you did everything you could. Thank you so much. And then afterwards, like she went up to one of my coordinators. And usually when you hear somebody going like, hey, you're fired, that means you had a good boat. So I was like, all right.
Oh, does
So
that happen a lot? Like, oh, you're fired.
yeah, I mean, if you had a
That's
really good
funny.
one, or like you'll have people that'll like kind of like dip down and they'll like, kind of like where you are, like they'll get out of the boat and they'll be like, oh, you were so good. Like I've had people try to tip me before. I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah. It's like,
it's
no,
like
I'm not that great.
yeah, I'm like, I cannot take this. I am a hack of a comedian. I am very mediocre. I just, please, I don't, they'll be like, no, it's fine. Or like one time I joked, I was like, I'd make, sometimes I'll make everybody like take the oath and I'll be like, all right, guys, like I say your name, promise to laugh at all of Skipper Madison's jokes and I will give her $10. Like, so, I was just joking. Or like, I'll be like, oh, if you want, the extra magical tour, like I'm going to charge an extra, 10.99 on your magic band.
Yep.
So, I mean, sometimes I haven't done that in a while just because I'm like, I don't know if you really could. And I kind of don't want to, but people have been like, this kid was like, my mom wanted me to give you this. I'm like, no, you can. I'm like, keep it for yourself and go buy a Dole Whip. Like,
I would do the things all the time with PhotoPass because that's what I was. I would like jokingly charge people for magic shots. So I was like, okay, well, if you want a magic shot, it's going to be an extra $2. Or just I would ask for whatever drink they were holding in their hands.
yeah.
I'd be like, oh, it's extra $2 or that Starbucks coffee. So whatever it was, just
And
wanted
they
to keep
give
them on
it
their
to you?
toes. One guy offered, he's like, well, if you weren't working right now, I'd buy you a beer. And I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's like, thanks, but no thanks. Like,
Thanks, but
yeah,
that doesn't help me, I guess.
yeah. Or like, there was one time, like, when I remember I was at like Pixar Film Fest and, this kid came in with a bunch of popcorn. I'm like, oh, like you brought me popcorn. Thank you so much. And the mom's like, why, do you want some? Because I'll go get some. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no,
Oh,
you're fine.
jeez.
And,
I mean, I do want some, but I won't take it.
yeah, exactly. It's like, no, no, thanks. And like this one, and then there was another kid that came in and I made that joke. And then he was like, I'll give it to you if you can catch it in your mouth. I was like,
Okay.
I'm like, sure. And then he like tried to throw it. I go, no, because then I'm just going to have to clean it up because I know I'm going to miss. So,
Right. Yeah, I feel that.
yeah.
So, going back to your skipper routine, once you have your set routine, like the jokes, you know and like yourself, do you stick with that one or do you switch it up every now and then, or how do you do that?
I try to switch it up as much as possible just because I get bored. Like it's not even
Sure.
it's not like you have the same people coming in your but I mean sometimes you do. Like, I have friends that, they'll come like, once every other week or something. So I want to make it fresh for them. But like at the same time, like it's just a matter of like I don't want to say the same things over again, or like I'll try other material and I'll be like, I wonder if this works. So then like if I have like, because I know I have like a big group of friends that are all from out of town that are coming at the same time. I'm like, I want to make that like one of the best boats. So I'm kind of like working it,
Yeah.
working it out for that. So yeah, just try to keep it fresh and, see what works, see what doesn't.
And so this is kind of a random question, but I'm gonna try to describe to you. Hopefully, you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
on the boat, there's one seat that has like a random square on it, and some skippers
Okay.
make a big deal about it, and some don't. They call it like the trap door and everything. What is that
Yeah.
seat?
It's the magic square because we're not allowed to call it the snake pit anymore.
Oh,
No,
so originally it was a snake pit.
basically. No, it's I don't know. There's like some kind of like mechanical stuff in there. I think that might be maybe where they fuel the boats. I don't know. There's a couple spots actually. There's another one in the back somewhere, and then there's the one in the front. But we honestly just use it as like a good because we kind of have to have some room. Um, so I'll either like put my foot there. I'll be like, all right, you're gonna come down. You're gonna sit right on that magic square. And then the other side, like sometimes I'll just put my hat there. I'm like, you're gonna come all the way down right by my hat or right next to my stinky, smelly jungle shoe. Don't worry, it's brand new
That's funny.
jungle shoe. So yeah, I think it's just a mechanical thing. There's
Gotcha.
some doodads down there. I don't know.
So I've noticed that some skippers will use the gun you guys have and some won't.
Yeah.
Why is that some use it and some don't?
I
Just
think
part of their
you have-
routine.
Yeah, you have to have something. I feel like you have to be really comfortable with whatever you have and making sure that it's not going to offend anybody. I
Yeah,
have
sure.
only used it. I've only used it once, and it was during my training. And I picked it up in the hippo pool, and I just waved it around and was like, I know how to scare them off. And I picked it up, and it looked like I was gonna shoot it, and I was like, I love you, but I was like waving it around like I have no idea what a gun is. And I was it's not that funny. I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it there. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like if I'm sure there's some people that have been there for a long time. So I'm sure they probably do it because it used to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But I really don't know anything that would be, appropriate enough that, wouldn't get anybody in trouble.
So what part did it used to specifically be in of the ride?
It was in the hippo pool.
In the hippo pool, okay.
I think that was really it. Yeah, I think it was just the hippo pool because they used to be like, I know how to scare them off. And then they would, like shoot them. And I think they used to actually have blanks in them.
Yeah, I remember. I've been on
ask
one that is loud.
Yeah.
They shot it.
Does it make a splash in the water or no?
No. Maybe when they had the blank, I don't know. I don't know how that works. But yeah, no, it's just a regular, I mean, it looks very real. It might have had blanks in there at one point, but if you shoot the trigger, if the audio is on, so like if your microphone's on, the audio on the mic and then the gun are kind of like the same system. So if you like shoot the trigger, it's gonna have like a banging noise. Like it's pretty loud.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was actually one day where I was pulling a boat out from storage and I was sitting there waiting to like get the all clear sign to like come into the dock. And I moved it, but I wasn't like even like nothing was touching the trigger and it just kept going off. And I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything. Like, and I don't want to get, nobody heard it. Like nobody looked back, nobody heard it. And we were right next to the dock. And I was like, okay, good. Because it was driving me nuts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't want this. So,
hey, as long as no one else heard it, that's perfect.
Exactly. I was like, yeah.
So have you ever needed to evacuate people from the ride? Has it ever come to that?
I have not. For some reason, the other day I thought we were because my engine kind of sounded like it was kind of going out, but I think it was just a really loud engine. But there have been actually my first day by myself out of training, I had to be the rescue boat. One of the boats died in the elephant pool. And so basically I backed up the boat. You have to back up the boat into the jungle, go all the way to wherever they are. So it could be literally like, right when you start. So it could be, where the Pygmy Beach is. And that's like, a minute and not even a minute into the ride. You might have to, bring all those other boats out, and then one boat has to be, the rescue boat. So then you go back, you have to hook a rope on it, and you basically just pull it the rest of the way through the jungle.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I've only been rescue boat, never had to do it otherwise.
But then you could probably make some good jokes during it though.
You probably could. That's something that I've even thought about. I'm like, dang, like, what would I do if that happened? I mean, sometimes I feel like it's the funniest, like, because sometimes we'll be waiting to get into the dock, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, I'm out of stalling material, I'm out of jokes, so you just kind of like start talking to people, and sometimes that's like, when you get the most like pure like conversation with like a kid or something. Usually, like, I'll be like, hey, it's your birthday, how old are you? And they're like, I'm 6. I'm like, oh, me too. And they're like, no, you're not. And so, it's just kind of a back and forth, very pure. And it's always just funny because whatever the kids say, I mean, kids are ridiculous. Like, they literally say the darndest things. So, it's always really fun. But yeah, no, I'm actually dreading the day that happens to me.
Yeah, that'd be awful. Honestly, I wouldn't like it myself.
Yeah. I don't even think that, well, like when you actually evacuate, like you have to like get in the water. So I don't think that's happened. That really hasn't necessarily happened since I've been there, and I don't know how often it happens, but hopefully I won't have to find out.
Right. Yeah, that's a good thing to not know.
Yeah.
So I feel like out of all the rides, especially in Magic Kingdom, I don't think Jungle Cruise has ever been really shut down when I've been there. Does it just not happen very often at all?
Like, what do you mean shut down? Like,
or like people aren't allowed to get on the ride.
Well, in the summer, I mean, at least, what's our rainy season? Like, basically May through, September.
Yeah.
It goes down at least almost once a day.
Okay.
Yeah, because so it's a lightning thing. So it's not even necessarily rain. Like, we'll do it in the rain. I've done cruises in the, in torrential downpour, but as soon as it's lightning, I think it's within like maybe like 10 miles, 5 miles of the area, that's when they'll, go down. So like I'll be,
Sure.
like the other day I was like coming around the corner and I was just docking, everybody's getting out of my boat. And then they're like, you're going to push it back into storage. And I was like, really? And they're like, well, I mean, weather, we're trying to keep you guys safe, trying to keep the guests safe. So it makes sense. And that's when you get to do the dry cruises. If you guys have ever seen those on YouTube.
No.
Yeah. So
those are?
Yeah. So dry cruises are, if we have a lot of people, that are kind of like waiting to get on the ride, they'll, and they're kind of around and they're like, oh, like, are you guys open? It's like, no, but, we have enough skippers and we have enough people around. Like, we'll basically just do the cruise on land. So we'll have like, I mean, the other day I actually started one. So like, we'll appoint somebody to be the skipper and we'll have like them put the microphone in their pocket. And then you're kind of like, like doing your thing and, you do your spiel. And then all the other skippers will act out like, the elephants or like with the backside of water, like everybody will turn around, they'll take their water bottles and they're like squirting behind them. Like,
oh, that's so funny.
It's really fun. Yeah. And I actually ended up doing one the other day and I got to the gorilla camp and then, all of a sudden I hear Skipper Madison to the dock box and I'm like, oh, gotta go. Bye. So I just like threw the microphone at somebody and they're like, what do we do? I'm like, I don't know. Just keep going. Like,
improvise quick.
Yeah. I'm like, just do it. Like, we all have a cruise. Like, we do this like every day. Do it. Like, so it was, so it's really fun. I mean, we haven't done them. I guess they used to do them all the time. And then there was a point when I think it was Hurricane Irma a couple of years ago. There was, I guess, a lot of foliage that was down. So, they had to close it for, I think they said they were down for 2 weeks, maybe. So, I mean, all the skippers were still there. Everybody had to come into work. And then, they would pretty much just do that all day.
That sounds like a good time to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's actually
sure.
pretty cool. No other ride can really do that. So
nope.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, you can't just act out the Kilimanjaro Safari.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that'll about wrap it up for the skipper questions. So now we have a tradition on our interviews to ask a few Disney favorites. So we're gonna go through about 5 questions, and we'll just pick your brain on these. So your top 3 Disney movies. They don't have to be in any order.
Okay, let's see. Mary Poppins. Goofy movie for sure. And this one nobody really knows. Fun and Fancy Free.
Oh, I don't know that. You want to do like a quick like
Really?
Spark Notes version of it?
Yeah, so it was like either like late 30s, early 40s, and it's basically so it's like two stories. So it's Jiminy Cricket, and he's going to like this little dinner party with like Edgar Bergen. So like those two like ventriloquist dummies he had, like Charlie McCarthy and Mortimer Snerd, I think it was. Like, he like did these puppets back in the day. So like they were going to like this dinner party, and like Jiminy Cricket was kind of like in the corner. So then like they were putting on this Dinah Shore record. So they did Bongo the Bear. And then I feel like if you saw Bongo, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen that somewhere. And then they did Mickey and the Beanstalk. Um, and those I think were released separately as well, but they just kind of put it all in this like one thing with Edgar Bergen, like, in between with like Jiminy Cricket. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, but that's like one of the earliest Disney things I remember watching as a kid.
That's pretty cool.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
shout out to that movie. Check it out.
yeah, no,
Um,
it's so good.
okay, so then favorite Disney character.
This one was hard. Max Goof, I think.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
interesting.
Probably. I'm actually
That's a
really
different
good
one.
friends with the guy who plays him, Jason Marsden.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Interesting.
the voice. Yeah, we became
That's really
friends.
cool. So,
Like,
is Eye to Eye one of your favorite songs?
I was actually gonna say "Stand Out." I use that for my senior solo for dance because I danced for like 20 years. So that was my senior solo because everyone does like emotional, like really slow, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do something fun. So I was say I was gonna say "Stand Out" or "Country Bear Jamboree," but
So something
Wow.
kind of cool. You can tell him. I'm in an a cappella group at my school, and our theme song is Eye to Eye.
oh no way, that's awesome.
Yeah. So shout out Cliffhangers. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So
But yeah.
what?
Anyway.
Yeah, keep moving on here. What is your favorite Disney princess?
Snow White, OG.
Snow
That was
White.
quick.
Yeah, that
quick,
was very
easy one.
quick.
Yeah, it's
Um.
Snow White and then Tiana, but like Snow White, I mean OG, like I have to.
Yeah, she's an OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say your favorite line cue for a ride is?
I'll tell you what my least favorite queue is Space Mountain.
Yeah,
Space Mountain is dreadful.
It's
we
awful.
we agreed on that.
It makes me sick. I don't like it. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I was like thinking about that. I was racking my brain. I'm like, what do I like? And I was like, oh, Peter Pan's kind of cool. And my roommate's like, Peter Pan, really? That's what you're gonna say? I'm like, I mean, kinda, but
Well, they did fix Peter Pan.
yes, it's
Yeah, it's
very
better.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind waiting in line for the outside parts, obviously not so much, but when you're in the kids' rooms, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But probably Muppet Vision.
Oh.
Oh,
There's a lot to look at in
Uh-huh.
there.
There is,
Yeah,
and
there
it's
is.
cool because I grew up such a Muppet fan. Like I know everything there is to know. Like, I can literally watch something and be like, I can tell you exactly whose voice that is. Like it's, I was into Muppets way before I was into Disney.
That's cool.
So like there's so many references that even like hardcore Muppet fans, it might take you a little bit. It's like, oh my gosh, like that's from the, like
Yeah,
So
sure.
who's your
Um,
favorite Muppet?
Gonzo. Hands
Gonzo.
down.
Yeah.
He was
So-
my imaginary friend until I was like 5.
Do you take any of your humor from Gonzo?
Probably like that weird, like just like sick sense of humor. Like, oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I find myself like pulling from Disney characters myself on my humor. Like I'll be like, oh, that's something that Pooh might have said. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. When I'm very self-deprecating, I definitely think Eeyore, but it's
Yeah.
right. You have to,
kind of
um,
everybody in their 20s right now.
for real. So moving on to a little Instagram browse. So I was looking over your page before just to like get to know you a little bit better before we talked, and I saw you have some pictures with Guy Behind the Magic.
Oh yeah.
And so I worked with him a lot at Toy Story Land. He's a
Oh,
security
yes.
guard. For people that don't know, he's a security guard. His name's Brett. He's pretty famous at Disney World.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you get to know him at the parks?
So it's funny. I'm actually going to his wedding on Thursday.
Oh,
wow.
congratulations to him.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
him and Jen. I'm so excited. So my one of my best friends from home, Taylor, we came down for a trip, and we were just behind the castle. We just wanted to get some pictures, and he was like, "Do you guys want some pictures?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Hold up." So he pulls out his flashlight because like he knows how to get the light, like the good lighting. So
Oh
he
my
pulls out his
gosh.
flashlight, and he was like doing that, taking the pictures, like it was like a whole like full on photo shoot. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this guy's so cool." And so he's like, "If you guys want really good pictures, come here like right before the park closes. Like, we'll get you like on Main Street, like no one's here. So right before the park closes and hang out with me. So we're like, oh my gosh. Actually how we started talking is I was like, hey, what time does the park close? And then he asked, and I was like, oh, by the way, pictures. So then we ended up going back. We started talking to him. Like, he was just the coolest guy. And I remember our first picture, and this is when dabbing was first a thing. He was like, we should dab. Let's do a dab photo. And I'm like, okay. Like, so we did that. Now it's like on my friend's wall, like forever. Like, so then, I mean, that was before I was coming maybe like twice a year, I think. So every time I would come, I would try to go see Brett. And then finally, when I moved down here, like, he was like, we got to link up. So then I started, like, I haven't seen them as much as I like as much as, I'd like to, but
right.
Anytime we, run into each other, it's always a great time. And, I would just hang out with him, like, while he was like closing down the back of the castle. And, he's definitely gotten us some really cool, like, Main Street pictures. He's great.
Yeah, I have a pretty funny story with him as well. I was in Toy Story Land, and for whatever reason, I didn't eat that morning. And it was one of those days that it was like you step outside and you just sweat. So I get to Toy Story Land, and I'm like, I am not doing well. And he walked by. He was like, how you doing? You got water? And I was like, well, I think I'm going to pass out. And he's like, stay here. I'll be back. And so he comes back with like an electrolyte packet for my water, a fresh thing of water, and then some food. And he's like, are you okay? He's like, you can never do this again. I'm going to check on you every single time you're working here to make sure you eat. So then every time I'd see him after that, he's like, did you eat, Jeremy? Did you eat, Jeremy?
Aww.
And so every time I'd see him, I'd cut him off before he said anything. I'd go, I ate today. And he's like, okay, good. And so it became a joke where he'd always ask me if I had eaten, even if he just saw me in the parks.
That's so nice.
Oh my gosh. No, he's like the epitome of like Southern hospitality because he like grew up around here.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's seriously like honestly, like I don't know why he doesn't have a Disney Legacy pin yet.
For real.
Yeah,
that's for real.
Yeah, he had something from like I think there was like some ambassador of like I want to say Disneyland Paris, like some ambassador like came by and they gave him like the special pin. He wears it on his name tag. But it's like something, it's like basically like they give it to like people that they see that like, are basically doing Walt's work, like how Walt would have done it. So, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like if anybody deserves it, it's you for sure.
So my other quick question about my Instagram browse was, you were 13 shots into Coca-Cola at the Cool Club or Club Cool. What's your favorite drink there?
Melon Frosty.
Melon Frosty.
That's a good one.
Is there one that you recommend not trying?
Besides Beverly?
Yeah.
We try. I don't know. They're okay. I would say there's another one that I definitely, if I saw it, I would. Now I'm like going on my Instagram and being like, when did I take pictures of this?
I dug back pretty far.
Okay, let's see. Oh, when you're 13. Oh no, Inca Cola was Yeah, when you're 13.
Is that a good one?
Inca Cola is great. I actually have a friend, shout out to Mel Goes to Disney. She lives in Miami, one of my best friends. And I guess down there at their Publix, our grocery store that's out here for people who don't know, they have like bottles, like 2 liters of Inca Cola. So like last time she came to stay with me, she brought me like 2 of them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven
amazing.
right now.
A true friend.
A true friend. But Inca Cola kind of tastes like bubblegum, which is why I like it.
Okay.
Melon Frosty you can actually get at Skipper Canteen.
Really?
Interesting. Wow. How do you do that? Oh, at the Skipper Canteen. I ate there. That was actually really good. I enjoyed that restaurant a lot. Oh boy, it was a couple years ago I ate there. I don't remember.
Come on, Phil, you should know
I don't remember. I know.
Man.
But I just remember it was really good. There were a lot of great options.
Yeah, I was there maybe like a month ago with a friend from out of town, and we what did I do? It was like the Hearty Har char Sioux pork or something, and it's like
it's a mouthful.
As soon as I said Tony's earlier, I was like, dang it, I should have changed my answer. But I also didn't want to be obvious, like, oh, I'm a skipper, of course Skipper Canteen.
Hey,
I think I had the fried chicken, I think. That plate or that dish.
The most basic thing it could have been.
I think.
Well, it came with a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
it's not just fried chicken.
No, it's definitely and they plate it very beautifully plated too.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that'll pretty much wrap it up. We're gonna do a few closing statements, then we'll send it off. So make sure you follow us on social media. On Instagram, it's Cast Convo. On Twitter, Instagram is Cast Conversations. Twitter, Cast Convo. Make sure to give Madison a follow. I'll put her Instagram in the bio of the podcast. And then Phil, you wanna close us off?
Yeah. So also, guys, make sure to like us, review us, whatever it may be, on Facebook or on Apple Podcasts or however you're listening to this episode or any of our episodes. Just make sure to give us a review and let us know what you think. We always love your feedback, and it helps us make our podcast even better.
And then Madison, if you want to say hello to anyone or shout out any of your fellow skippers.
Yeah, the whole jungle, I would probably say. That's really it. I don't know. I don't want to like single anybody out and everyone's like,
I feel that for sure. Yeah, it's like you say so and so, so and so and so and so, and they're like, wait, why didn't you say me? Yeah. I feel that.
I don't know. I guess my mom, because she's definitely gonna be listening. She's like, am I gonna hear it? I'm like, of course you're gonna hear it. So
hey, Mom, we hope you're doing good. I hope you have a good day.
Hi, Paula. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed hearing your daughter on our episode.
Well, thank you all for listening. We had a great podcast, and we'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.